Hello and welcome to the VideoAsk Podcast. I'm Alex Antolino, your host, and in this podcast brought to you by VideoAsk by Typeform, I try to bring you different people to talk about how we can make business more personal by innovating in terms of communication and media. Today, we're going to talk about testimonials, right? You've probably seen testimonials. You probably hated a lot of testimonials. You probably not believed a lot of other testimonials. And maybe you've seen one that you actually connected with. So why is this happened? Like, how can people do testimonials that don't work, right? We're trying to figure this out today. And to do that, our guest, he spent over 14 years mastering the craft of video. So he probably knows what he's talking about. He filmed Emmy Award-winning documentaries. He taught thousands of filmmakers around the world. And today he helps small business create and leverage live videos and testimonials to connect with their customers and drive sales. Our guest is Justin DeMers, creator of Click Go Live and 30 in 3. And I'm really excited to have you here, Justin, to talk about testimonials. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm stoked. This is a topic that I've spent a lot of years doing, creating testimonials for big companies, small companies. And I'm excited that I get to share some really simple approaches for the regular small business to be able to leverage the power of video testimonials.
All right, perfect. Let's do it. I think I'm excited to have this conversation because testimonial is just like a small corner of like an entire business. And the fact that someone is like devoting some part of his life working on this, helping other business, I think it's fascinating. So I just can't wait to have this conversation. And I just want to just jump right into it and ask you something that I need your answer on this. Why do you think testimonials even exist? Why do we do this?
Well, I want to flip the script because I would love testimonials to not be a little bit of marketing. I would love it to be a significant part of businesses marketing, because at the end of the day, the reason they exist and the reason why they work so well is we're a herd species. We always default to the social norm. And that's what kept us safe in the cavemen era. Should we go in that cave? Well, let's see if someone else goes first, and do they come back out? Well, that's safe for us. And it works for us right now in the, should we go to this restaurant? There's two here. One has a lineup, one doesn't. Which one should we go to? We're always defaulting to social norms. And so the testimonial is super powerful to let people know it's safe. It's safe to do business with me. You can expect the results that I'm promising, and other people have gone first.
I like this answer. This makes total sense. It's like social proof, right? So if this is such a powerful thing, why don't just companies do this instead of just like creating, spending that much money on like ads and, this kind of stuff? Why don't we just do good testimonials and that's it?
Well, listen, you're preaching to the choir. That's exactly what I say every single time. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, I think that a lot of most businesses know it's powerful, whether it's video testimonials, whether it's online reviews. Getting them is a different thing altogether. It's like, we know it's powerful, but getting it in a way that's systematized, in a way that doesn't feel gross, like asking your clients or customers for video testimonials in a way that doesn't feel gross. And then being able to use them, like understanding where they fit in the marketing and sales process. I mean, it's just a lot for businesses to grasp. Nice. And so if we can make it simple, well then, maybe some small businesses out there, or just big businesses, no longer have to make these huge claims, but rather just lean into like proof-based marketing instead of promise-based marketing.
Okay. So, so I think that's a perfect intro, so you can tell us exactly what it is that you do.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, so we just, right now I'm in an outdoor office in our backyard. So we just had this outdoor office built, and the experience that we've gone through in previous renovations, whether it's our kitchen or bath or, it's always left a lot to be desired. And this experience, the person who built this monkey was a total like night and day difference, where on time, courteous, on schedule, on budget, super friendly, played with our dogs. Our kids enjoyed being around him. It was just an experience that like, we want other people to know, like, hey, if you're thinking about having someone build an outdoor office in your home, like this person is trustworthy, this person is worthy of your business, this person is going to give you a great experience. And I'm not alone in that. Like we all have our Rolodex of like service providers or SaaS companies or just things that we know are great. They treat us well, and we want to like shout about them. And I'm excited today because like VideoAsk made it easy. Like it literally took a process that was hard. Something that I've spent years and years and years doing is flying across the world to create video testimonials. And now it's like with this little device in your back pocket, you can be sharing amazing stories with these service providers, small businesses that they can then use and let people know that they're the good guys, the good gals, the ones that are actually going to serve and not just, leave customers let down.
All right. So you actually help people create testimonials. That's what you do, right? And how does the process looks like?
Yeah. So I have, I think that getting testimonials is one of those things where it doesn't have to be as hard or as complicated as a lot of people think it has to be. So there's a couple of ways that I attack that. Number one is, in a lot of cases, you actually don't have to wait to the end of the process. Because a lot of times we look and think, well, we have to give the customer the final result before we can ask for a testimonial, forgetting the fact that there's an entire process of working with you that starts on like day one and carries through until the final result is done. And so one of the things that I walk, one of the things I do for my clients and I walk people who go through my program too, is understand like there are milestones in your client journey. And each one of those milestones is an opportunity to be collecting a story of progress thus far. So it's not the big, hey, the outdoor office is built, but maybe it's having the design done. Maybe it's picking the materials. Maybe it's outfitting the furniture. And those experiences are still worthy of testimonials because it's part of the process of having the outdoor office built. So that's number one.
Okay, so hold on, let's stop 1 second here. So you don't just like get one piece of video with one testimonial, but you actually get multiple of them. Yeah,
because at the end of the day, one of the things, if we're looking at any transformation, and a transformation could be something as simple as like, now I have an outdoor office. So when my kids are a little bit crazy in the house, like I have a quiet spot to go to. Like that doesn't have to be like transformation, like life-changing. Mm-hmm. But there are always milestones along the way. And those milestones for the again, going back to like social norm, those are easier for people to believe than that big, like final destination of like, this is amazing. Cause that in a lot of cases is like beyond the realm of comprehension for people. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same thing as like that lineup for a restaurant. We're statistically, if we're walking down the street and there's two restaurants that are both open, one has a line and one doesn't, statistically, we will wait in line. Right? Yeah. It's just wired into our DNA. Like we will wait in line because it's safe. Well, we don't know if that restaurant's good. We're just waiting in line because other people. So that's their part of the journey is we haven't even ordered food. We haven't tasted it. We don't know if it's good. We're just waiting in line because other people are waiting in line, and that signals safety. So it's part of the journey of going to a restaurant. And there's that happens with every buying decision and every transformation on the back end of that is there's these milestones, which then means you have an opportunity to be getting testimonials throughout the customer journey, which now means you're not just like getting one per client. You could be getting 5, you could be getting 10. Okay. And at the end, you can combine them to a single testimonial, but throughout the journey, that gives you an opportunity to be sharing what it's like to be working with you in real time.
I love this, guys. All of you watching, please if you're interested in getting like testimonials, right? Justin has a lot to say about testimonials, and I would recommend you get a notebook. I'm a very classical, like I use notebooks still. So I would recommend if you still a classic person, just, hey, there you go. So you get a notebook, and because by the end of the episode, we'll share like very actionable tips, which you can implement tomorrow or today, this afternoon when you end working, to make it actually, to make it work, the things that you can implement today, right? But before we get into that, actually, I want to dive in just for the sake of the conversation, in the psychological part of it. Like, why do people, first of all, I'm curious, how does someone end up having dedicating his life to helping people build testimonials. It's something so specific that I wonder, like, what's your background and how did you end up doing what you do?
Yeah, I'm interested in just the power of video. Like, that's kind of the thing I've been doing for almost 15 plus years now, because video stories have an opportunity to literally change the world. And I believe that, like, there's a lot of people using video for entertainment, which is fine. There's a lot of people using video for not necessarily great things, which is like most advertising. And then there's a small subset of people who can use this medium that I love to affect change, to change perspective, to spark conversations, to signal that it's safe to work with this business. And so that's what I spent a significant amount of my life doing, traveling the world, working with huge companies and seeing them benefit as a result of that. But what I do now is, like, I'm helping the regular business owners, the mom and pop flower shop down the street, the online consultant, just regular people who don't have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to spend on videos, leverage this power. And so, it's one of those things where my mission is like helping the good guys and gals win. And how I do that is with video. And one of the ways I do that is with testimonials. So if it goes back to the outdoor shed, like, if, my part in this experience is making sure that person has a great, 5-star review on Google, has a great video testimonial to share, but that's just like I'm just one person. And so if I can help other people do that with the businesses that they're working with, then, it just gives me a lot of, excitement and energy.
That's awesome. I like how you kind of like transition from like creating all these, like, because you also were working on the advertisement industry, right? Maybe like creating some commercial. And I think I can connect a lot with this because my background also is on film. So I also started creating these very fancy, very expensive commercials. And it's kind of like, it's funny because I really connect with what you said, that like we're basically kind of like doing the opposite now, where like it's all about like authenticity, and it's all about, it doesn't matter what kind of camera you're using as long as you come across as authentic when you're telling a story. And I love that. Also, like, from your background. Yeah,
it's, there at one point there was this desire to look professional, to have our video, like going back to the small business type thing, like to have our videos make us look like we're bigger than we are, right? We need to look super polished. We need to have actors and talent, and like, it just has to like look awesome. And now, I think a large part social media, but we can spot that it's BS. Like, we can spot that that's fake. That's not real life. And so the businesses that are leveraging real videos and showing who they are as a business owner and what their brand or company represents, they're the ones that are winning. And that doesn't mean that you need to have like a huge creative department. And it doesn't mean that you have to have the best gear or, some epic story as to why you started your company. But it does mean, like, as you said, authenticity and vulnerability, and like speaking to like why you even have a business in the first place, and what are you doing with your customers' lives? Like, how are you helping them? Those are your unfair advantage. Now, that's how you separate yourself from the other 50 florists in your city, is sharing who you are and why you do what you do.
I love it. And it's also like by showing who you are, you're actually creating like, I mean, it's a trend, right? Honest marketing, it's like a trend that it's happening. People are more likely to engage with, your stories than actually that video that cost you that much money and that you took like 3 weeks to produce. And that's a fact. And if you're watching this, here, Justin and I have like this film background. It's not like, we've never done this before. And it's actually, it's a fact, it's happening. And I personally think that, COVID actually had a lot to do with this. It was already kind of happening, but the fact that because we had lockdowns and we had to work from home and like we literally like sneaked in everybody's living room this year, I think like this is like, it's fantastic in my opinion. And it's kind of like breaking this idea that everything has to be perfect. Like, and I love that you mentioned that, there's like these small businesses are trying to showcase themselves as like established and make everything like some businesses trying to make everything super polished, when it's actually what's working is the other way around. And if you actually look at what big companies are doing, is go the opposite. Is trying to feel like they're close to you. They're like natural, spontaneous, and they have the money to do what they want, and they're choosing to do this.
Yeah, it's funny, but like, again, we can spot when it's a big company trying to pretend like they care about our families, or that they they like, you know, represent what we stand for. And it's like, but you know, you're right. COVID totally had an impact on this idea that everyone's doing Zoom meetings from their kitchen. And now we're getting an inside look on how people have designed their kitchen, you know, or are people trying to use green screen and try and like hide what their real life looks like. I had an interview a couple of days ago with a professor at, he teaches in an MBA program in just outside of Toronto. And so he's teaching the, like, basically psychology of why people buy. And it was a super fascinating conversation. And at the end of it, we kind of geeked out because, you know, here's this guy who teaches people like how big companies influence you to buy their products. And he was talking about like, how do these companies earn the right to be in your refrigerator? This idea of like, you can go to the grocery store, but like there's 15 different kinds of ketchup, and like which brand of ketchup is in your refrigerator. And that got this down. We went down this whole rabbit hole of a conversation, but the end of it was when he's teaching to his students, he doesn't use a green screen. He lets them see his home to get an idea of who he is outside of like professor of an MBA program. He's a human. And this human has, you know, items and artifacts in his home that signal where he's been, who he loves, what he's about. And that's totally as a result of COVID, because if COVID never happened, you would only see professor in a lecture hall speaking in front of 200 people talking about the psychology of why people buy. But now you're seeing an inside look into who this person is. And that is powerful. And so, you know, we ended the conversation by just saying like, how many professors are putting green screens behind them to make them look more professional? And all it's doing is putting a barrier between them being able to connect with their students on a deeper level. And that's the power like we have right now with, again, like real video. It's like, it was just a perfect example of, you can either try and be perfect and it comes across fake, green screen, or you can just embrace the fact that we're all going through this mess together. And here's an opportunity to share like what you're about with your students or your customers or your followers or your fans. It's a huge opportunity.
And sharing what you're about, it's also like you were saying, your background, the things that you have next to you, but also like the way that you talk, you know, the way that you express, the kind of things that you like, you know, like it makes you unique, right? And for most business, that's their differentiation, especially for like small businesses. It's most of the time they're doing something that if they're not in the software industry, probably this thing already exists. And the thing that's going to set them apart is that's what's unique about them. It's mostly their personality. If it's like a small company, it starts with the founder and then it kind of like populates as the company grows, other departments. So I think that's very interesting. And actually like in the film industry, we know that there's a whole department called, you know, set production and things like that, this is what they do. They try to tell stories through objects and backgrounds. So I think the fact that we have this power now and we don't need to kind of like pretend anything, it's really useful. It's actually really powerful.
I've got Lego decorating my entire office.
I love it.
and you know, I could either go down the route of like serious business owner who helps hundreds or thousands of businesses, or it could be like, this is who Justin is. He's a big kid at heart. He's got 2 young kids. We build Lego when we're, I mean, all the time really. And that is totally what you said, is totally an opportunity for me to communicate what I'm about. And yeah, there are art departments and huge set, you know, stages. It's all these people like manufacturing the perfect background. At the end of the day, like the perfect background is like
what it is.
What objects? Yeah, it means Lego, but what objects signify what you're about? And this the thing that's awesome about this is this actually carries through to testimonials. One of the things I walk people through is this idea that in video, there's what you say, and then there's what you communicate. And in a lot of cases, what you communicate. It's like subtext, all the things that make you feel scared in a horror film without them saying, you should be scared right now. Like we have that ability with our video testimonials. So there's like the words that people are saying about you or your company or your service, but then there's the whole where they're saying it. And that's such a simple thing. Again, when you have a cell phone and you're using VideoAsk, for example, now that person can be recording that in a place that is communicating, in addition to what they're saying, the result feels like, or the experience feels like.
Exactly.
And so I have, I work with a lot of like business coaches, consultants, stuff like that. And some of them actually help their clients just get more time back. So it's all about systems and operations and hiring the right people. And at the end of the day, like just getting more of their time back. And so you can imagine a video testimonial from them in their office. Well, that kind of clashes with this idea of getting more time back, because they didn't want more time back to do more work. They want more time back to actually spend time with their kids, go out with their wife, do the things that they love. And so having a video testimonial speaking to having more time back on a golf course, or packing for an upcoming vacation, or like signifying that they have an abundance of time now is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than saying, working with Justin, I've gotten more time back. And so this is a huge opportunity now, because people are a little bit more, again, going back to COVID, we're a little bit more open to sharing what we're about in our world on video, because we kind of had to. So now's an opportunity to like take that a step forward with our video testimonials to make sure that they are also communicating what we're about. Yeah,
because people, in a way, at least we saw this with VideoAsk, like some people kind of like jumped into video because you had to. It's not like before. I could see like much less people using their cameras, showing up on stories, even like. But now, like, we spend like all day long in front of a camera, and like we kind of like less afraid in general to just jump and like record ourselves or something like that. So I think it's a great moment. It's a unique moment. That one of the good things that came out of all of this is that it's precisely what you said. People are less afraid, and we can take advantage out of it. So for all of you guys watching. First of all, I think Justin and I want to know if you've ever tried to, experiment with testimonials. Have you ever asked your customers for testimonials, and how did that go if you did? So please let us know in the comments, because we'll reply. We're going to look at the comments. We're actually really interested in learn about your experience. So if you're watching, let us know about your experience, if you ever did it. And if you did, how was it? And I'm actually like, for all of them, like for all of you, basically, like if you've been using testimonials, or if you haven't started yet, just because you just don't think they can do much for your business because you feel that they're fake, or like, just don't believe them, because this has happened to me a lot of times. I was with Typeform before. I was like, we aren't gonna use testimonials, like maybe 3 years ago. It's like, it's fake as fuck, like I just don't buy this. I don't want this on my website. It just feels fake. And we were trying to build like a very honest brand. And now that I'm like creating the brand with VideoAsk, I kind of like understand that it's just how you do it, right? So for all of our founders here or marketers watching, Justin, how can we get the most out of testimonials? Like, what's the way?
So the reason why most testimonials feel fake is because they're about the business or service provider or SaaS company, and they're not about the user. And that is the fundamental shift. Is testimonials that feel fake are braggy. They don't feel believable, because they're always about like, number one, the rose-colored glass experience. There's never anything bad. It's only good, which is simply not true. And number two, it's about the person who is providing the service or the business, not the person experiencing it. And so one of the things that I am fundamentally against is actually asking for video testimonials. I frame testimonials in general, not as an ask, but as a give to the actual person who is going through the experience. And it's not a testimonial, it's an opportunity to share their story. And those subtle differences between saying, hey, can I get a testimonial from you? Or, hey, I would love to share your story or your experience working with VideoAsk, for example, changes the conversation from being about me or VideoAsk to about them, the person. And now all of a sudden, everything is fair game, including some of the struggles. Because as we know from making videos, no good movie is without struggle. Like the characters have to have dips and raises, valleys and peaks, or else it's just boring. And a testimonial that's all roses and unicorns is not believable. So we want to hear, what's the dirt? How easy was it to get started with VideoAsk? But then what are some challenges, right? Was there a new software that you had to learn? Did you have some hiccups with getting customer adoption and understanding that they don't have to download software? Whatever it is, that is an opportunity to say, hey, BS meter turn down, believability meter turn up. And as long as it's not about you, again, the person providing the service or the business, and it's about them, way more believable.
All right.
And
I think, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I just want to hit pause here. And as a video nerd, I just want to hit rewind. So everyone watching, you get your notepads, and first key insight: testimonials are not about you or your product or your service, right, Justin? They're about your customers and their stories and how they
radically different experience,
right?
Yeah. And the thing that's awesome is when you make it about them, you no longer have those gross conversations where it feels like you're turning your clients or customers into salespeople for your business. Right. It no longer becomes like a favor, like you're asking them to do something for you. It becomes a celebratory experience for people who are seeing change, small changes, right, that amass to that big, result. And it becomes encouragement for them to keep going. It becomes a momentum builder. And the thing that I love about using testimonials is I actually have processes in place where some of the testimonials I never share. They're never designed to be shared publicly, but they are shared with that customer to get them to keep going and making progress. Because in anything, things get hard, right? Kids, unexpected things happen with your kids, or business takes a turn, COVID happens, whatever it is. And what could be, what could be a journey that you think someone is going to actually finish and get to the end, something could happen and derail them. But having these little wins along the way and be able to say, hey, keep going. Here's exactly where you were 3 weeks ago. Here's where look how much progress you've made, or here's exactly where you were just a few months ago. Here's the progress that you've made. They are amazing at just keeping people going and building momentum. And
I love that.
And so, I look at testimonials as again, not for me. I don't even really call them, I don't say, can I get a video testimonial? Can I share a story? But I look at that as an opportunity it's not about me. It's about them. It's not about getting more clients, but that happens. It's really just about celebrating the clients you do have. And then when you look at it like that, then all of a sudden, ideas start to pop where it's wait a minute, I don't have to wait until the end of the client journey. I don't have to only ask them at this point. I don't only have to share them in my marketing. I can share it in my customer onboarding. I don't have to, there's all these ideas that pop up where now you have, it's human-based marketing. It's human-based everything. And it's no longer promises. Mm-hmm. It's results. It's proof, and it's an encouragement, and it gets people to keep going.
Yeah, I think there's something very interesting in what you said before, which kind of blew my mind, that you don't just ask once, you ask many times. And I was just thinking now what you were saying is that especially in the way you ask for it, in the way it's hey, can I share your story? Can I celebrate your story of transformation or success, whatever? I think there's something special that happens. And I think this is actually very interesting that all of a sudden, you were saying, you're not asking for a favor or turning your customer into a salesperson for your business, but actually you're developing a relationship, because the moment you start having multiple interactions, then you start building a little bit of a relationship, which doesn't only work for new customers, but I would assume it works pretty well with the customer that's sharing that story with you. It's at the end of the day, it's building trust in many directions. So I can see only good things coming out of this.
Exactly. I've got nothing else to add. I mean, at the end of the day, you can look at Typeform. it's this big company, but it's at the end of the day, it's made up of humans. And so like, it's made up of humans and it helps other humans. And so like, it just goes back to what we talked about, like at the very beginning, we're a herd species. We like to be around our people. We like to be around people who prop us up. We like to be around people who share the same values. And so like this, testimonials, video testimonials that are done this way, do all of those things. And customer loyalty is huge. And this is such an easy way to get it because it's not manufactured. It's not bribing. You're not like coercing your clients. It's literally just an invitation for them to be recognized. And who doesn't like to be recognized?
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. So being very specific and kind of like bringing down the narrative a little bit, like more down to earth, what are the main qualities of good video testimonials?
Yeah. So number one is we really, 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 I look at two filters when I'm looking at social proof. Number one is the will it work filter. So like believability, which is unfortunately where most testimonials fall flat, where it's like, does this work? Yes. So here's a story of it working for someone. Where testimonials are really, really powerful is, will it work for someone like me? So not trying to be like generic with your video testimonials, but looking at the types of people you serve and having stories for each type, and then stories within each journey. So for example, if you looked at Typeform as an example, like who are the types of businesses that use it? Because sharing a story for a SaaS company when you're marketing to a small business, it's not going to hit. Mm-hmm. And so we want to look at all of the people that use Typeform, the different like buckets, customer buckets, and think of, okay, here are the 10. So we need stories from each. But then within that, let's say that there's SaaS companies as one of the buckets that use Typeform. Well, you can have SaaS companies that are like unicorn level, and you can have SaaS companies that are just starting out. So seeing a testimonial from Salesforce is not relevant to me as a 2-person operation. And so we basically want to be able to make it easy for people to see stories of someone that's maybe a couple of steps ahead of them, mm-hmm. that this product or service or business helps people like that. So that's number one.
What Seth Godin says on like This Is Marketing, when says people like us do things like that, right? It's creating this sense of belonging. Is like, oh, if it's working for that profile that is very similar and I can relate to those problems, it's potentially a good solution for my problems too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, when they first think of testimonials or social proof, it's like, we want that whale client to give us testimonial because that will validate us. If Salesforce says, or I don't know, I just keep using Salesforce, but if Google says we're awesome, then we just assume that every company will think we're awesome. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that's not how it works, because Google's on a different echelon. Like other companies like Google may look at you and think, be interested, but the small guys or small gals, well, no, they're going to think the opposite, which is, oh, this company's only for big companies. They don't help companies like ours.
Good point.
And so when you're thinking of like going down the path of adding or capturing video testimonials and adding them to your website, your marketing, wherever, just be mindful that it's not the big results. It's not the big whale clients. It can often be the more powerful ones can be just the regular people who have seen modest success. And that is more believable and more relatable than these huge companies seeing massive results.
Got you. So authenticity is one. You said believability, right? Like how believable that is. And then relatability, right? So, I believe this. Now, does it apply to my situation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then making it really easier for people to find those. So, I look at like Facebook as a really great example on their marketing platform. So if you're interested in using Facebook ads to grow your business, for example, they have a customer success stories page. And then within that, they have a series of filters to make it really easy. So are you looking for Facebook ads to do this, grow your business, build your page, attract more customers, ... Are you this type of business? Are you an online business, an e-com business, an in-person business, a local service provider? And so it's giving people like an opportunity to find the stories that match them. Because at the end of the day, like we can't assume that people are going to find the exact story that is going to move them into action. But there are ways you can make it really easy for people to find those. And whether that's a drop down on your website, whether that's specific story pages related to the different niches you serve, whether that is simply letting people, when and you see this all the time, when it's like opting in for a white paper or a PDF on a website, it's like they're choosing their industry. Well, if they choose that industry, make sure every story that is sent to them as proof is in that industry. Like there's small little markers that we can do to just let people know that it's safe to move forward with you as a business, and it's safe to invest in whatever your service or product is.
All right, that's pretty useful actually. So we've talked about what testimonials can do for us and why do those even exist. We've given some hints on, what could we do to get those testimonials to be more authentic and more relatable. So before we wrap up, I just want to get really, really specific and very pragmatic on two things. The first one, how do we a couple of tips, not how do we capture, that would be too much, but like a couple of very specific tips on how do we capture good testimonials. And then I will ask you a couple of tips on how do we show those testimonials. So first, how do we capture?
Well, I'm biased here, and I think you are too. Like, use VideoAsk. I mean, that's the easiest. That's the easiest answer.
That was totally scripted.
When you're thinking about capturing great testimonials, you want to make the process easy, which is why I love VideoAsk.
Okay.
And then you want to ask when excitement is at a peak. So a lot of times people wait too long. Like they just wait to the process. That person is no longer elated, excited, and easily able to leave that story or that little snippet with you. And so, if you're looking at your customer journey, then how to ask is, one, use VideoAsk, make it really easy for people to do. And two, make sure they're being asked at peak excitement. So when they are over the moon, that's when you ask.
Okay. So don't wait until the end. Just find those moments of excitement, and that's the moment to ask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And then as far as using them, so in the same way that we don't want testimonials about us, one of the mistakes that I often see this, when they're sharing social proof, they make it about themselves. Look how I helped this person. Look how Typeform enabled this business to do this thing. And so you strip away the fact that this person did the vast majority of the work, and you take the credit for it, which I get. It feels good. We want to take credit.
I'm burning inside right now. I love this. I'm all about this kind of I'm all about honesty, and I'm all about trying to remove ourselves from ego. And what you just said, it's so true. And sorry that I interrupted you, but I'm just jumping inside because I just can't wait. Now I'm burning with ideas. I actually can't wait to go to my own website and try to implement those things actually.
Yeah. And so when you're sharing your testimonials, make it about a celebration for your clients. Celebrate how awesome they are, where they started and where they've come and where they're going and what it's going to mean for them. And what's awesome is I call it a bit of a inside where I help people do this. It's it's creating a culture of celebration, where it's this idea of your marketing is no longer how awesome you are. It's celebrating how amazing your customers and clients are, because people want to be celebrated. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be recognized. And if you go to, if you're Googling a business and you land on one of them and you land on another one, and one of them is about how awesome they are, and the other one is about how awesome their customers and clients are, which one are you going to choose?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. So it just becomes when you're sharing your testimonials, do everything you possibly can to make it about your customers and clients and not about you.
I love it. I love it that much that I think this is a great way to end this conversation, unless you have something to add, you want to add.
No, this is fun.
That's it, guys. Make it about them. Don't make it about you. I think we shared a lot of Justin, you shared a lot of great things on how to make those testimonials authentic, not even great. They don't need to be great. They just need to be real and useful and relatable. So I think I personally love this conversation just because I was such a detractor of testimonials for such a long time, and it's only recently that I'm kind of like getting it, you know, like I get it. And I think it can be actually really powerful. You just need to do it like most things in life, having the other person in mind when you do those things, and not just like me, my business, my product, and all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Justin, thanks so much for the conversation. Guys, if you want to learn more about testimonials, go to 133workshop.com and you'll be able to engage with his content or even like get in touch with him, right, Justin?
Yeah. It's
Perfect.
great. Thank you. I appreciate this conversation. It was fun.
All right, so I think that's it, guys. If you wanna see more of this content, if you wanna have more conversations, feel free to hit that like button to let us know that you appreciate this content and that we need to keep doing more of this. And subscribe if you wanna see more of these conversations coming. I think that's it. Bye, Justin.
Ciao.